The message came on a Tuesday. Earth's deep space sensors picked up the signal from just beyond Mars. It was not random. It was not natural. It was a greeting, sent in perfect mathematical sequence. Proof that humans were not alone in the universe. "Play it again," Captain Jun Kim ordered, his eyes fixed on the main screen of Earth's Defense Command Center. The technician nodded and pressed a button. The message repeated, a series of pulses that Earth's computers had already translated. "We come. Prepare to meet. Peace." Captain Jun did not fully trust these words. In his 20 years leading Earth's small defensive fleet, he had learned that words and actions often told different stories. "What do we know about them?" he asked. "Their ships are massive, sir," replied Jin, the radar specialist. "Our sensors detect 5 vessels, each one at least 10 times larger than our biggest ship. They have technology we can't even understand." Jun nodded slowly. "Contact Admiral Sun. She needs to see this." Admiral Sun Park was already awake when the call came. At 62 years old, she slept less each year, but thought more. As Earth's top military strategist, thinking was her greatest weapon. "Show me," she said simply when the video connected. Captain Jun sent the sensor readings. Admiral Sun's eyes narrowed as she studied the alien fleet. They're arranging themselves in standard attack formation, while sending peace messages, she noted. "Interesting. What should we do?" asked Jun. "Show them our weakness," Sun replied with a small smile. "Prepare our oldest ships, make them look disorganized, unprepared." "And the Aegis project?" Jun asked quietly. "Tell Hyun to speed it up. We may need it sooner than we planned." In a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, scientist Hyun Lee worked without stopping. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her hands remained steady as she made tiny adjustments to the device in front of her. "Try it now," she told her assistant, Minji. Minji activated the small sphere. It hummed softly, then generated a field of energy that made the air shimmer. "Fire the test laser," Hyun ordered. The laser hit the energy field and scattered harmlessly in all directions. Hyun smiled for the first time in days. "It works, but we need to make it bigger. Much bigger." "How much time do we have?" Minji asked. Hyun's smile faded as she checked the message on her tablet. "Admiral Sun says days, not weeks. The aliens are already here." 3 days later, Captain Jun stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Horizon. It was Earth's newest ship, but still looked primitive compared to the massive alien vessel now visible through the view screen. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. On screen, Jun ordered, straightening his uniform. The alien that appeared had gray skin, 4 eyes, and spoke with a strange clicking sound behind its words. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Vorlaxian Empire," it said. "We greet the humans of Earth. I am Captain Jun Kim. We welcome you in peace." The alien's upper eyes blinked slowly. "Your vessels are interesting. We have not seen such simple designs in many cycles." Though the words seemed neutral, Jun caught the tone. It was the same tone humans use when talking to small children. "We are a young species," Jun replied humbly. "We have much to learn." "Indeed," Krell said, all 4 eyes now examining the human ship with obvious amusement. "We will teach you much about the galaxy. Your world has resources we value. A beneficial arrangement can be made." As the conversation continued, Jun noticed how the alien ships had positioned themselves around Earth's small fleet, like predators surrounding prey. Later, alone in his quarters, Jun sent a secure message to Admiral Sun. "They see exactly what we want them to see. They think we are weak. The trap is set." The Vorlaxian ship was enormous inside. Captain Jun and his small team walked down hallways that seemed to stretch for miles. Their footsteps echoed while their Vorlaxian guides moved silently on 6-toed feet. "Their technology is far beyond ours," whispered Da, Earth's chief diplomat. He was a short man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "So they want us to think," Jun replied quietly. Engineer Minji Kang walked behind them. She carried a small device that looked like a simple tablet, but it was actually scanning everything around them, recording data about the alien ship. Ambassador Krell led them into a large room with a window that showed Earth, small and blue in the distance. "Your world looks so fragile from here," Krell said. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Many species feel afraid when they see their home like this." "It is beautiful," Daz said simply. "We are honored by your invitation aboard your vessel." Krell made a sound like stones clicking together. June realized it was laughter. "Your ships are quite interesting," another Vorlaxian said. This one wore a uniform with many symbols. "Such basic weapon systems. Such simple shields." "We are still learning space travel," Jun said, looking down as if embarrassed. "The Berg tried simple systems like yours." The uniformed Vorlaxian continued. "They are now a productive part of our empire. Their world provides excellent mining operations." Day and June exchanged quick glances. This was the 3rd mention of species that had joined the Vorlaxian Empire. "We would be interested to meet these other species," Daz said carefully. "Perhaps someday," Krell replied. "First, we must establish proper relations with Earth. We offer protection. In return, we'd require only a small tribute." While they talked, Minji moved near a control panel. Her scanner silently recorded energy readings. Her eyes widened slightly at what she saw, but she kept her face calm. Back on the horizon, Jun called an emergency meeting. "They've conquered at least 12 worlds," he said. "Their talk of protection is just a nice way to say surrender. Their weapon systems are advanced," Minji reported, connecting her scanner to the ship's computer. "But they all work on the same frequency. That could be important. Their ships are arranged in a standard hunting formation," added Jinba, the tactical officer. He pointed to the sensor display. "See how they position their largest vessels. They leave small gaps here, here, and here. If they follow standard attack patterns, these would be their weak points." "They think we don't notice," Jun said. "They think we're too primitive to understand." "Good," said Dai. "Keep them thinking that. I'll continue diplomatic talks while you send this data to Admiral Sun." On Earth, Admiral Sun studied the information from Jun's team. Her office was simple. Just a desk, 3 screens, and a picture of her family. But from here, she controlled Earth's true defense strategy. "They're so confident they don't even hide their intentions," she told her assistant. "They've done this before to other worlds." "Should we prepare for war?" her assistant asked. "We've been preparing for 20 years, Sun replied. "Ever since we discovered their signals and realized what they were doing to other planets." She opened a secure channel to the underwater base. Hyun's tired face appeared on screen. "Is it ready?" Sun asked. "The shield technology works in tests," Hyun replied. "We're installing it on the prototype now." "And the Aegis?" Hyun's expression changed to one of pride. "Come see for yourself." "Admiral." Sun's eyebrows rose slightly. "I'll be there tomorrow." After ending the call, Sun opened a file marked Vorlaxian Empire, Known Conquests. The file contained information gathered over years, stories of worlds that resisted and were destroyed, worlds that surrendered and became slaves. "Not Earth," Sun whispered. "Not while I'm in command." She sent orders to June. "Continue the deception. Make them believe we are weak. In 3 days, we will show them the truth. Earth must provide 10% of all metal resources, 30% of all water, and 5,000 humans for labor each year." Ambassador Krell's voice was flat as he listed the Vorlaxian demands. "This is a small price for our protection." The United Defense Council meeting room fell silent. 20 of Earth's top military and political leaders sat around a large table. At its head, Commander Suk-yoon stood with her hands clasped behind her back. "And if we refuse?" she asked calmly. The four eyes of Ambassador Krell all blinked at once. That would be unwise. The last world that refused now has oceans of glass where cities once stood. The diplomat stepped forward. We will need time to consider your generous offer. You have 2 Earth days, Krell replied before leaving the room. As soon as the doors closed, the room erupted with angry voices. Silence. Commander Sook's voice cut through the noise. We knew this was coming. Admiral Sun, report. Admiral Sun's face appeared on the main screen. She was not at the meeting in person because she was somewhere more important. Hyun's shield technology is ready, Sun said. The Aegis is operational. A wave of relief passed through the room. The Vorlaxians expect us to either fight poorly or surrender, Commander Sook told the Council. We will appear to do both. In Earth orbit, a small human scout ship drifted closer to one of the massive Vorlaxian vessels. Captain June watched from the horizon as the scout ship's pilot, Han, carefully maneuvered near the alien sensors. He's taking a big risk, Jin Ba said quietly. We need to know exactly how their sensors work, Jun replied. Han volunteered. Suddenly, the Vorlaxian ship turned. A bright beam shot out, hitting the scout ship. The small vessel exploded instantly. Jun's face remained calm, but his hands tightened into fists. The communication screen lit up. It was Commander Drex, the Vorlaxian military leader. Your vessel was in restricted space, Drex said without greeting. This is what happens to those who do not respect boundaries. We apologize, Jun said, bowing his head. Our pilot was young and curious. We will be more careful. Drex made the clicking sound that passed for Vorlaxian laughter. Your ships are like toys to us. Remember that when your leaders make their decision. After the communication ended, Jin turned to Jun. They killed Han just to make a point. And they recorded everything, Jun said, pointing to a small blinking light on the sensor display. The scout ship's special transmitter. Han completed his mission. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, Hyun Lee watched as workers installed her shield technology on dozens of hidden ships. The underwater base was enormous, built inside a massive cavern that no Vorlaxian scan could detect. Admiral Sun walked up beside her. Impressive, she said, looking at the largest ship at the center of the cavern. The Aegis was unlike any vessel humans had publicly built. It was massive, sleek, and bristling with advanced weapons. Around it, hundreds of fighter craft were being prepared. Will it work? Sun asked. The shield will absorb their energy weapons, Hyun replied. The armor will withstand physical attacks. But we've never faced their weapons directly. And the special project. Hyun led Sun to a smaller lab where Minji was working on a small device. Using the data from the Vorlaxian ship, Minji explained, we've created a disruptor that will target their communication systems. When activated, their ships won't be able to coordinate. Sun nodded. How soon can the fleet be ready? 24 hours, Hyun said. Good. The Vorlaxians gave us 48. Sun's expression was grim. Their arrogance will be their downfall. As they spoke, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. A technician ran up to them. Admiral, the Vorlaxians have launched fighters toward our Atlantic defense station. So they're getting impatient, Sun said. It begins sooner than we expected. Signal Captain June. Tell him to prepare Phase 1 of the deception. All ships, maintain your positions, Captain June ordered as he stood on the bridge of the horizon. Remember, look disorganized, but not panicked. Earth's visible fleet consisted of 30 older vessels. They formed a loose defensive line around the planet. To alien eyes, they looked scattered and poorly positioned. The Vorlaxians are broadcasting on all channels, reported the communications officer. Let's hear it, Jun said. Commander Drex's voice filled the bridge. Attention humans, your Atlantic defense station has been neutralized as a warning. You now have 12 hours to accept our terms. Prepare your tribute ships or face consequences. June nodded to the communications officer. Send the prepared response. On screen, Earth's entire defense capability was displayed. Each ship's specifications, weapons, and crew numbers, all carefully modified to look weaker than they actually were. Message sent, the officer confirmed. They're receiving our fleet data now. Jin Ba, the tactical officer, smiled slightly. They're adjusting their formation based on our fake data, exactly as Admiral Sun predicted. June watched the Vorlaxian ships shift positions. They think they know exactly what we're capable of. That's our advantage. On the Vorlaxian command ship, Commander Drex reviewed the human fleet information with Ambassador Krell. Their weapons are primitive, Drex said, the skin around his 4 eyes wrinkling in amusement. Their strongest ship couldn't even damage our smallest vessel. They seem afraid, Krell added. Look how their ships are positioned. No proper formation. No strategy. Humans will make good workers, Drex said. Strong bodies, weak minds. Like the Burk. Krell clicked in agreement. I've already informed our allies in the Nexus cluster about this easy conquest. They're sending observer ships to witness our victory. Beneath the ocean, engineer Minji Kang worked quickly. She had just arrived from orbit, bringing crucial information. The Vorlaxians used these frequencies for their shield systems, she told Hyun as they installed the final components on the hidden fleet. Their weapons all connect to a central targeting system. Perfect, Hyun replied. That makes them vulnerable. Workers moved around them, installing small devices on each ship. These were Hyun's shield disruptors, designed to render Vorlaxian weapons useless. Admiral Sun entered the bay where dozens of pilots were preparing. The enemy believes they know all about us, she told them. They see our old ships. They think those are our best. They mock our technology and our tactics. The pilots stood at attention as she continued. For 20 years, we've been building this hidden fleet. For 20 years, we've studied how the Vorlaxians attack and conquer. Today, they will learn that appearances can be deceiving. In orbit, Captain Jun received a secure message from Earth. It contained just 3 words. Aegis is ready. He turned to Jin. How are our positions? Perfect, sir, Jin replied. Every ship is exactly where it needs to be. The Vorlaxians think we're just poorly organized. And the special modifications. Installed on all visible ships, Engineer Minji completed them before heading to the underwater base. Jun nodded. Now we wait for them to make the first move. He didn't wait long. The Vorlaxian ships suddenly began moving forward in attack formation. They're coming in fast, Jin reported. All ships are targeting our weakest points, exactly where we wanted them to focus. Broadcast on all channels, Jun ordered. Make it sound scared. He took a deep breath, then spoke with a deliberately shaky voice. Attention all Earth vessels. Defensive positions. I repeat, defensive positions. This is not a drill. On the main view screen, the Vorlaxian fleet approached. Their massive ships made Earth's visible fleet look tiny and helpless. Sir, Jin said quietly, our sensors detect 12 new ships entering the system. Observer vessels from other alien civilizations. Good, Jun replied. More witnesses to what happens next. He opened a secure channel to Admiral Sun. The audience has arrived. The stage is set. The Vorlaxians have taken the bait. Sun's voice came back calm and clear. Begin phase 2. Let them think they're winning. Until they're not. The first Vorlaxian shots lit up space with bright purple beams. 3 Earth ships exploded immediately. Evasive maneuvers, Captain Jun shouted, holding onto his command chair as the horizon shook. All ships, retreat pattern Delta. Earth's small fleet scattered in what looked like panic. Some ships moved too slowly and were hit by Vorlaxian weapons. Others seemed to flee in random directions. But there was nothing random about their movements. Sir, all ships are in position, Jin reported quietly. The retreat is working perfectly. On the main screen, Commander Drex's face appeared. All 4 of his eyes were wide with what looked like joy. Your defenses are pathetic, Drex said. Surrender now, and we will spare your major cities. Please, Captain June begged, following the script perfectly. We need time to evacuate our civilians. Drex made the clicking sound of Vorlaxian laughter. You have had enough time. Now you will witness the power of the Vorlaxian Empire. The largest alien ship moved forward, positioning itself directly above Earth's northern hemisphere. Smaller Vorlaxian vessels surrounded it in a protective formation. They're exactly where Admiral Sun predicted they would be, Jin whispered. June nodded slightly. Open channel to Earth. Get me Diplomat Da. In the United Defense Council room, Dai stood before a screen showing the Vorlaxian fleet. Behind him, Commander Suk and other leaders watched silently. Ambassador Krell, Dai said when the alien's face appeared on screen. We wish to discuss terms of surrender. There is nothing to discuss, Krell replied. You will accept our original demands, plus additional payment for the ships we destroyed. Please, Dai continued, his voice deliberately shaking. We need more time. Time is over, Krell said. Commander Drex will now demonstrate what happens to worlds that resist. As the transmission ended, Day turned to Commander Suk. They're in position. Suk nodded and pressed a button on the table. Admiral Sun, they've taken their places on the board. Your move. In the underwater base, Admiral Sun stood in the control center of the Aegis. The massive ship hummed with power around her. Hundreds of crew members worked at their stations, all waiting for her command. It's time, she said simply. Hanli, at the main engineering console, activated a sequence of commands. Shield technology online. Weapons systems ready. Begin ascent. Sun ordered. All hidden fleet vessels, prepare to surface. The enormous cavern's ceiling began to open, revealing the ocean above. The Aegis slowly rose, followed by hundreds of advanced ships that had been hidden underwater for years. In space, the Vorlaxian commander was broadcasting his victory speech to the observer ships from other alien civilizations. Watch as we add another primitive world to our glorious empire, Drex boasted. Earth will serve as an example to all who consider resisting our. His speech was interrupted by an urgent message from one of his officers. Commander, we detect large objects rising from Earth's ocean. Probably just sea vessels trying to escape, Drex said dismissively. Nothing that can. The officer's voice rose in alarm. Sir, these are not sea vessels. These are ships. Massive ships. On the horizon, Captain June allowed himself a small smile as he watched the Vorlaxian fleet suddenly shift positions. All Earth ships, he commanded, his voice now strong and confident. Battle Formation Omega. Activate Hien shields. Prepare all weapons. The retreating Earth ships suddenly turned as one, their movements now perfectly coordinated. No longer did they appear weak or disorganized. In the darkness of space behind Earth's moon, something enormous began to move. The shadow of the Aegis, Earth's true mothership, emerged into the light. It dwarfed even the largest Vorlaxian vessel. Commander Drex's four eyes widened in shock. What is that? He demanded. That, Captain June replied calmly, is the real Earth fleet. And now you will learn what happens when you threaten our world. The Aegis moved with surprising speed for such a massive vessel. Its hull gleamed silver in the sunlight as it positioned itself between Earth and the Vorlaxian fleet. That ship can't be human-made, Commander Drex said, his voice no longer confident. It must be a trick. No trick, Admiral Sun replied as her face appeared on every Vorlaxian screen. For 20 years, we've watched your empire grow. We've seen how you conquer peaceful worlds. We've prepared. Drex recovered quickly, his four eyes narrowing. Even with your hidden ship, you are no match for us. Our weapons will tear through your hull like paper. Try, was all Sun said before cutting the transmission. The largest Vorlaxian warship fired. Purple energy beams shot toward the Aegis. Everyone watched, expecting the human ship to explode. Instead, the beams hit an invisible barrier around the Aegis. The energy scattered harmlessly across the shield, creating beautiful patterns of light. Hun shield technology working perfectly, reported Minji, who stood at the engineering station on the Aegis bridge. Their weapons can't touch us. Admiral Sun nodded. Now it's our turn. Captain Jun, execute your part of the plan. On the horizon, Captain Jun watched as the Vorlaxians fired again and again at the Aegis, each shot harmlessly absorbed by the shield. They're confused, Jin said with a smile. Their weapons have never failed before. All Earth ships, Jun commanded, attack pattern Sun 3. Target their communication arrays first. The Earth fleet that had seemed to retreat in panic now moved with perfect precision. They surrounded smaller Vorlaxian vessels, targeting specific weak points that Jin had identified days earlier. Earth's ships fired weapons that the Vorlaxians had never seen before. Not simple lasers or missiles, but focused energy beams that cut through alien shields. How is this possible? A Vorlaxian officer cried out on an open channel. Their weapons were primitive yesterday. Yesterday, Jun replied calmly, we showed you what we wanted you to see. Aboard the Aegis, Admiral Sun watched the battle unfold. The massive mothership opened hundreds of launch bays. From each one, small fighter craft emerged. All fighters launch, reported the flight controller. Attack groups Alpha through Delta are engaging enemy ships. The human fighters were small but incredibly fast. They swarmed around the larger Vorlaxian vessels like angry bees, firing precisely at shield generators and weapon ports. Hyun stood beside Sun, watching her shield technology save countless human lives. They can't understand what's happening, she said. They've never faced an enemy who prepared so carefully. Arrogance blinds, Sun replied. They conquered so many worlds easily that they forgot the possibility of failure. The main screen showed the observer ships from other alien civilizations. They remained at a safe distance, watching in shock as the supposedly primitive humans systematically disabled the feared Vorlaxian fleet. Send them a message, Sun told the communications officer. Tell the observers, this is how Earth defends itself. Remember what you see today. On the Vorlaxian command ship, panic was spreading. Their weapons weren't working. Their shields were failing. Their ships were being disabled one by one. How did they hide such technology? Krell demanded, his diplomat's calm completely gone. Our scans showed nothing. They must have developed shielding for their technology too. Drex replied, frantically trying to reorganize his scattered fleet. But it doesn't matter. We still outnumber them. Order all ships to converge on their mothership. The remaining Vorlaxian vessels began to move toward the Aegis, planning to overwhelm it with sheer numbers. Admiral Sun watched them come. They're getting desperate, she said. Exactly as planned. Minji, is the disruption device ready? Minji nodded, her hand hovering over a control panel. Ready, Admiral. The Vorlaxians pride themselves on their coordinated attacks. Sun said, let's see how they do when they can't communicate with each other. She nodded to Minji. Activated. Minji pressed the button. A pulse of invisible energy spread out from the Aegis, washing over the approaching Vorlaxian fleet. Suddenly, all Vorlaxian communications went silent. Their perfectly coordinated formation fell into chaos. And now, Sun said, they learned the true strength of humanity. Without communication, the Vorlaxian fleet fell into disorder. Ships that had moved together perfectly now bumped into each other. Some fired weapons that hit their own allies. Others drifted, waiting for orders that couldn't reach them. Their entire battle system depends on central control, Jin explained on the horizon. They've never needed to think for themselves. Captain Jun nodded. All Earth ships target the weak points we identified. Focus on their engine sections. Earth's vessels moved with practiced precision. Unlike the Vorlaxians, human captains had been trained to act independently. Each knew the overall plan but could adapt as needed. In the chaos, Vorlaxian ships became easy targets. On the Aegis, Admiral Sun watched as her fighters swooped between the larger alien vessels. The small, fast human craft fired precise shots at the spots Jin had identified as weaknesses. Fighter Group Alpha reports 6 Vorlaxian ships disabled, reported the flight controller. Group Delta has breached the defenses around their command vessel, added another officer. Sun turned to a special console, where a team led by Minji was hard at work. Status of the hacking attempt. Almost there, Minji replied, her fingers moving quickly across the control panel. Their security systems are complex, but we've been studying them for years. Just a few more minutes. Sun nodded. Keep at it. If we can access their central computers, this battle ends even faster. Commander Suk led a team of Special Forces soldiers toward the docking bay of the Aegis. They wore advanced battle suits, each one equipped with Hyun's shield technology in miniature form. Remember your training, Suk told her team. The Vorlaxians are physically stronger than humans, but they've never faced ground combat. They rely too much on their technology. The soldiers nodded, checking their weapons one last time. Our target is the Vorlaxian flagship, Suk continued. While their fleet is in confusion, we will board their command vessel and capture Commander Drex. A young soldier raised his hand. What if we can't find him? Then we take control of their navigation systems, Suk replied. Either way, we show them that humans can fight anywhere, in space or face to face. The boarding craft was small but fast. As the bay doors opened, Suk saw the battle raging outside. Disabled Vorlaxian ships drifted through space. Earth vessels moved with purpose, targeting the remaining alien ships. Launch, Suk ordered, and their craft shot toward the largest Vorlaxian vessel. On the Vorlaxian flagship, Commander Drex was trying desperately to restore order. Without the central communication system, he couldn't coordinate his fleet. Send messenger ships, he shouted. Tell all vessels to target the human mothership. Sir, a junior officer said, the humans have disabled our launch bays. We can't send messengers. Drex's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in frustration. How? How did they hide such technology? How did they know our weaknesses? Ambassador Krell, who had been silent until now, spoke quietly. They watched us, just as we watched other species before conquering them. They learned from our victories. Impossible. Drex slammed his fist on a control panel. No primitive species called. He was interrupted by a loud alarm. Sir, human vessels are attaching to our hull. They're boarding us. Drex stood in shock. No one had ever dared to board a Vorlaxian command ship. It was unthinkable. Jin Ba coordinated the attack from the tactical station on the horizon. His careful study of the Vorlaxian ships was paying off. Captain, all groups report success. The enemy fleet is 70% disabled. Jun nodded with satisfaction. And Commander Suk's boarding party. They've breached the Vorlaxian flagship. They're moving toward the command center now. Jun allowed himself a small smile. Signal the Aegis. Tell Admiral Sun that Phase 3 is complete. We're ready for the final move. On his screen, he could see the observer ships from other alien civilizations. They remained motionless, watching as the mighty Vorlaxian fleet was systematically taken apart by the humans they had thought primitive just hours before. Let them watch, Jun said quietly. Let the galaxy learn what happens when you threaten Earth. Commander Drex stood in the center of his command room as alarms blared all around him. Reports of disabled ships filled the screens. His mighty fleet was falling apart. Prepare the antimatter device, he ordered suddenly. The Vorlaxian officers stared at him in shock. Commander, one said, that would destroy half this solar system. Even our own ships would be. Do it, Drex shouted. If we cannot have this world, no one will. The humans must learn the price of defiance. Ambassador Krell stepped forward. This violates our most sacred laws. We have never used such a weapon on an inhabited world. There are no laws in defeat, Drex replied coldly. Only survival. And if we return home defeated by primitives, the Emperor will have us all executed. The antimatter device began to move from the flagship's secure storage to the launch bay. It was small but contained enough power to shatter planets. On the Aegis, Minji's eyes widened as data flowed across her screen. "Admiral," she called out, "I've accessed their main computer. They're preparing to launch an antimatter device." Admiral Sun's expression remained calm, but her eyes hardened. "Location: their flagship. Launch estimated in 6 minutes." Sun nodded once. "Inform Commander Suk immediately. Her team must reach that launch bay." She turned to her weapons officer. "Target all weapons on the flagship's rear section. Disable their engines but avoid the central areas where our people are." As orders were given, Sun opened a channel to Earth. "Commander Drex is desperate. He's preparing a planet-killer weapon. Activate the planetary shield." Commander Suk and her team moved quickly through the Vorlaxian flagship. The aliens they encountered were not prepared for direct combat. Their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship battles, not close fighting. "This way," Suk said after checking the small device that showed the ship's layout. "The command center is 2 levels up." Her communication unit buzzed. It was Minji from the Aegis. "Commander, Drex is launching an antimatter device from the lower bay. You have less than 6 minutes to stop it." Suk immediately changed direction. "New target," she told her team. "Lower launch bay. Move." They ran through the corridors, encountering more resistance as they neared the launch area. The Vorlaxians fought desperately, knowing what was at stake. 3 minutes remaining, reported one of Suk's soldiers. They reached a sealed door blocking access to the launch bay. 2 soldiers quickly placed special devices on the door's control panel. "Hurry," Suk urged. The door slid open, revealing the launch bay beyond. In the center sat a small dark sphere, the antimatter device. Vorlaxian technicians were making final preparations. "Stop them," Suk ordered, and her team rushed forward. On Earth, Hyun-Lee stood in a different control room. This one controlled the planetary shield system, a scaled-up version of the technology protecting the fleet. "Planetary shield at full power," she reported to Admiral Sun. "But we've never tested it against antimatter. I don't know if it will hold." "It has to," Sun replied simply. "But let's make sure it doesn't come to that." Captain Jun watched on his screen as Earth began to glow with a faint blue light, the planetary shield activating. At the same time, the Aegis fired precise shots at the Vorlaxian flagship's engines, disabling them completely. "Sir," Jin called out, "the antimatter device has launched. It's on a direct course for Earth." The small, deadly sphere moved quickly through space, heading toward the blue planet. "All ships, clear a path for the Aegis," Jun ordered immediately. The mothership moved forward with surprising speed. It positioned itself directly in the path of the antimatter device. "What are they doing?" Jin asked in horror. "Even with Hyun's shields, they can't survive a direct hit from that weapon." "They're not planning to survive it," Jun replied quietly. "They're planning to redirect it." The Aegis extended a special energy field, one designed by Hyun for this exact scenario. As the antimatter device reached the field, it didn't explode. Instead, it changed course. "They're sending it back," Jin whispered in awe. The deadly sphere turned and accelerated toward the disabled Vorlaxian flagship. "Admiral Sun planned for everything," Jun said, "even Drex's final desperate act." On all channels, Sun's voice rang out clear and firm. "Commander Drex, your weapon returns to you. You have 1 minute to surrender or face your own destruction." 40 seconds to impact, announced Minji on the Aegis. The antimatter device continued its path back toward the Vorlaxian flagship. Admiral Sun stood calmly, watching the countdown. "Open all channels. Let everyone hear what happens next." In the Vorlaxian command center, chaos reigned. Commander Drex stared at the screen showing his own weapon returning to him. "Evacuate the ship," he shouted. "All personnel to escape pods." But escape pods wouldn't launch fast enough to outrun the blast. Just then, The door to the command center exploded inward. Commander Sook and her team rushed in, weapons ready. "Commander Drex," Sook said firmly, "surrender now or die with your ship." Drex looked from the humans to the screen showing the approaching weapon. 20 seconds until impact. "The choice is yours," Sook said, "but make it quickly." Throughout the galaxy, the observer ships were broadcasting everything. Species that had feared the Vorlaxian Empire for centuries watched as humans, a species they had never heard of before, brought the mighty conquerors to their knees. 10 seconds, reported Minji. Admiral Sun opened a channel again. "Commander Drex, your final chance." On the Vorlaxian flagship, Drex's 4 eyes closed briefly. Then he reached for the communication panel. "This is Commander Drex of the Vorlaxian Empire. I surrender to Earth forces. Please deactivate the weapon." Sook immediately relayed the message to the Aegis. "Surrender confirmed. Commander Drex is in custody." Admiral Sun nodded to Minji. "Deactivate the antimatter device." Minji's fingers flew across her control panel. The deadly sphere slowed, then stopped just 1 kilometer from the Vorlaxian flagship. "Device neutralized," she reported with a smile. The failsafe worked perfectly. Sun addressed all channels again. "To all Vorlaxian forces, your commander has surrendered. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that resists will be destroyed." The remaining Vorlaxian vessels, already damaged and disorganized, quickly complied. 1 week later, Captain June stood in the Grand Meeting Hall of Earth's United Defense Council. Representatives from 12 previously conquered worlds sat around the table, along with human leaders. "The terms of surrender are clear," Dad explained to the assembled aliens. "The Vorlaxian Empire will release all conquered worlds. Their military will be reduced to defensive capabilities only." A representative from a world called Pelax spoke up. "After centuries of Vorlaxian rule, we hardly remember how to govern ourselves." "Earth will help," Commander Sook assured them. "Not as conquerors, but as allies." Admiral Sun, seated at the head of the table, nodded. "Today marks the beginning of a new galactic community, one built on cooperation, not conquest." Ambassador Krell, now representing what remained of Vorlaxian authority, looked humbled. "We underestimated humans in every way possible. We saw your old ships and thought you weak. We saw your scattered fleet and thought you disorganized. A mistake many have made throughout human history," Sun replied. "Those who judge by appearances often fail to see the truth until it's too late." In the research center beneath the ocean, Hyunli and Minji Kang were already working on new projects. The room was filled with scientists from Earth and several alien worlds, all sharing knowledge. "Your shield technology changed everything," said a Pelaxian scientist. "With this, many worlds can protect themselves." Hyun smiled. "And your faster-than-light calculations will help us explore further than we ever dreamed." At the space dock orbiting Earth, Jin Ba watched as the Aegis prepared for its first official mission, not as a warship, but as an exploration vessel. "The Earth Gambit," Jin said to Captain June, who stood beside him. "That's what they're calling our strategy now." Appearing weak while hiding strength, Jun nodded. "An ancient human approach." "The observer ships have spread the story throughout the galaxy," Jin continued. "No one will underestimate Earth again." Jun smiled as he watched ships from a dozen worlds docking with Earth vessels, former enemies becoming allies, scientists sharing discoveries, soldiers learning from each other. "We never wanted to be conquerors," he said quietly, "but we will always be ready to defend ourselves. And others who need help," Jin added. In the viewport before them, the stars stretched out endlessly, not as a battlefield, but as a frontier of discovery that all species could now explore together. Earth had changed the galaxy forever.